Hi, dear friends. Good to see you. My name is Mark Joseph from Mindful Revolution, and the session is called It Starts With You. And here's some sort of high-level summary points from an extended session that I did. Checking in with you. How are you doing today on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you a 3 or a 4? 10 being I'm fantastic. And it's really important just to start with that. So not so much for me, but for you, so that you can look and say, well, if I'm feeling good, then I can, go for those big tasks, have those courageous conversations. But if I'm not feeling so good, then I'm not going to have those conversations. And maybe I'll take a bit of time off and take more breaks today, whatever, right? It's all about stress management and managing self through self-awareness, which really is the two cornerstones of emotional intelligence. Did you brush your teeth this morning? I know you did. Well, if you didn't, then I don't know. But you know how you feel when you don't brush your teeth and you go out into the world. Not very nice. And in the same way, the question is, did you do something today for your mental health? Now, I know you did something for your dental health, but did you specifically do something for your mental health, your resilience? And it might sound like a strange question, but nobody really thinks about it. But there are things that we can do. And we are in what is called a mindful revolution, okay? And the revolution pretty much looks like, well, in the 1940s, you said to someone you're going for a run, they'd be saying, who you running from? And I remember my father smoking cigarettes on the airplane, and now you can't smoke a cigarette anywhere, right? So those are health revolutions. And we are now currently in a beautiful health revolution. And look at this picture of guys smoking on the airplane. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. So one of the cornerstones of this health revolution is to maintain our sense of hope. The world seems pretty bleak and pretty crazy. And I love this image of sunflowers, and sunflowers represent hope. So what is it that we hope for? And we should never really give up on hope, because hope really fuels our recovery, and it stabilizes our mind-body connection. And we come to work stronger. It helps us to keep our focus, our creativity. It keeps our stamina high, and it builds resilience. And of course, it helps us meet those deadlines, as long as we keep hope that everything is going to be okay. And I read this incredible book by Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo. And it's all about kind of keeping this hope alive, recovery. If you haven't read it, go out and get it. And also we're reflecting on the works of Dr. Viktor Frankl. And he said the people that survived in the concentration camps during the Second World War were those people that had hope. Hope that they were going to be released, they were going to be set free, they were going to find their wife again, they were going to start a company, etc., etc. Those were the guys. And if you haven't read the book, Man's Search for Meaning, I do recommend it. It is a classic. And in terms of hope, there was this experiment done with rats, a guy called Kurt Richter, and he found that a rat drowned, sadly, in a bucket after 5 minutes of swimming. But he put another rat in and saved it before it drowned. The second rat he saved before it drowned. He gave it some cheese, he let it sleep, and he put it back in the bucket. That rat swam for 60 hours. 60 hours, not 5 minutes, 60 hours. You know why? Because that little rat had hope. So, amazing. It's important to delay stress or mitigate stress through optimism. And I don't want to talk about toxic positivity, but really to work with our stress in a very resilient way. And there's this wonderful book called The Stress Code, and in it, Richard Sutton tells us that in chapter 4, that people that reframe stress as a motivator, and that stress is actually going to help them get stuff done, well, those people thrive. But people that see stress as a killer were 4 times more likely to die from a terminal illness much younger. I mean, amazing, right? Albert Einstein, if we look at optimism, there's this one quote that it said, you can live your life in 2 ways. One is though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. And I know this is a tough quote, but can we maybe think about it? So if we touch on the benefits of hope, it really is going to encourage our engagement, resilience, and of course collaboration. And it really gives us that energy to start. And if we look at the analogy of building a house, that's a foundation. So number one, hope. It's going to give us that energy to start. And if we look at the science of awareness and reflecting on Dr. Ellen Langer from Harvard University, she says autopilot is seriously dangerous for our stress and our mental health. She says that 47% of our day, we are not in the present moment. We are thinking of the future. We're lost in the past. We're multitasking. And when we are not in the moment, most of our decisions that we make are going to cause us problems and are going to cause us suffering. So I often think of people as time-traveling zombies. Time traveling because they're not often in the present moment, and zombies because they're not really alive. If you're not really here, you're only sort of half alive, if you know what I mean. So yeah, if you humor me, this crazy picture of a time-traveling zombie. And of course, we can explore the dangers of being on autopilot. Physical safety risks, like falling down the stairs because you're looking at your phone. Number two, emotional and mental health risks. Emotional disconnection from others because you're not really there. Rumination and negative spirals because we're not present and we're stuck in this past thing or future thing, and just a general sense of reduced happiness. Number three, decision making and life satisfaction risks. We will miss opportunities. Our choices will eventually be regretful, and we'll feel that we're in a space of stagnation. And of course, number four, it's going to affect our work relationships, being in autopilot, because we're going to make those mistakes, and it's going to cause relationship issues as well, because you're not truly present. And of course, there's nothing more romantic than just giving your partner your presence on Valentine's Day. So if we look at the power of awareness, Albert Einstein reminds us that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created those problems. So we can always explore something called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And I'm not going to go into it in a big way, but you can practice this after the video. Is that there's 5 things that you can see, right? 4 things you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. So try that as much as you can, because I know it sounds, maybe silly, but if we keep practicing such momentarily sensory practices, we will find ourselves in the present moment more and more often. And that's going to help us with everything. Ellen Langer from Harvard University also encourages us to increase our awareness by noticing what is in our space. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 things that you can see. Ellen Langer says, you walk into an office or a house, observe what is there. And that will help us to be more present and more attentive to that present moment and whoever's in our space at that time, so that we don't make those stressful mistakes. Mindfulness is a superpower, right? And it really does build resilience, because it does then reduce our rumination, which is building onto mental illness and stress. And then it improves our emotional regulation, because we can feel those emotions, we recognize those emotions, we name it to tame it, and then we come back to a place of homeostasis in our nervous system. Our brain becomes more flexible. Neuroscience tells us that our brain is forever changing, and we call this neuroplasticity. It is a massive stress buffer, and of course, the benefits of mindfulness over long term are remarkable. No more dementia, no more Alzheimer's, because we're practicing mental fitness. So part of this awareness is to increase our focus. And then mindfulness really helps with that, because it feeds into our focus and it starves our distraction. And there's a technique called the Pomodoro technique, which is where you set a tomato timer, or any timer for that matter, but this is just based on the work of Francesco Cieli. He had a tomato timer. 25 minutes of focused deep work, 5-minute break, 25 minutes of focus, 5-minute break, 25 minutes of focus, and then take a 30-minute break. And this is the Pomodoro technique. Now, you might not do it exactly the same way, but just think about blocking off zones to focus, and that requires boundaries with others, and of course boundaries with yourself, because 47% of our distractions are internal. So we've looked at 2 major things: hope, and number 2, mindfulness, which is increasing that awareness. And then of course there's self-care, which is namely self-compassion. catching that inner critic, that niggly little voice that brings you down with negative things. And this is where mindfulness also really helps, because when we start to beat ourselves up, we can catch it. You might say to yourself, I'm not coping with this. And you catch it and you say, oh, I noticed that I'm having a thought that I'm not coping. My life is a mess. Oh, I noticed that I'm having a thought that my life is a mess. You see how that could be the key to mental well-being. And a big part of your self-care is to set those boundaries, to create those gentle boundaries with others. And I love this quote, boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. And that's by Prentice Hemphill. Lovely, beautiful quote. So, part of self-care is to build our emotional intelligence. And I can focus on myself, and I can build my self-care by saying things to myself like, put your hand on your heart and say, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. And may I live in peace. And you can say that over and over and over again. And emotional intelligence is like balancing the wings of a butterfly. Left wing, you, right wing, others. And that's a big balancing act, is self and other. And that's where real mindfulness practice can help us do that. And literally we rewire our brain to think of ourselves more and to balance that with others' needs. And if you feel that you're thinking too much of yourself and people calling you selfish, then we can think of somebody else and others and think, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you live in peace. So now we're balancing those two wings of the butterfly beautifully and perfectly if we combine those two things together. So as we build this beautiful house, that is point number 3. We've been exploring self-care. It involves a lot of self-compassion and emotional intelligence. So the next one is mental or brain fitness. And for this, we need to take breaks. We need to recover. Otherwise, we're just going to deplete our energy and feel flat and more stressed. Take more breaks, okay? And in taking breaks, you'll find that you come back to your work stronger and smarter and fitter. And it increases our innovation and productivity, because a lot of people tell me that when they take a break, that's where they have their good ideas. It's when they go for a walk, or when they go outside, or when they're in the bathroom. That's when their good ideas come. So think about that in terms of taking a break and how that's going to serve you. Brain building is actual focus techniques every single day. I like to practice breathing meditation, breath meditation, and just keep my mind on that one thing. Reading books, keeping your mind on one thing for as long as you can, that is going to build your brain. And then monotasking, doing one thing properly at a time. That is also good for your brain. Whereas multitasking is going to rewire the brain in all the wrong ways, and it's going to ramp up your error, right? We've really discussed multitasking quite in a big way. So that's how we are going to build our brains and stay resilient in the face of change, in the face of stress, whatever. And it's about recovery, taking breaks, ramping up our innovation and productivity, brain building, monotasking, keeping your focus as much as possible on as many things as possible during your day. And then there's a couple of nervous system hacks that you can do for your vagus nerve, like stretching, breath work, being connected to others, cold water immersion, which is really, really popular, splashing even cold water on your face. Probiotics and omegas also help with that brain energy and fitness. Mindfulness, of course, we've spoken about. Singing and humming is so good for your nervous system. Sing in the shower, sing in the car. And then, of course, positive self-talk, which is also really, really good for the nervous system. So that's it, dear friends. I've given you lots and lots and lots of content and tips. And thank you for watching this video. And I pray that it helps you. I know that it helps you because it is science-based research. And it's so wonderful because I practiced mindfulness for many, many years without any science backing. And now, wow, it's so easy for me to talk about this and sell this to you. Do the work, dear friends. No one's going to do it for you. There's no magic pill. There's no fairy godmother that's going to do it for you. You got to do it yourself, and you will reap the benefits for sure. Take care of yourselves. It's Mark here. Bye now.